Let's have a look at some new sieges that we've just seen released by Total War. Creative Assembly have released some more Cathay footage, and boy do we get to see a beautiful battle played out on screen. So without further ado, this is Total War Warhammer 3.
Nothing endures without harmony. And harmony only endures through us. We are unmoving like the mountain. We will not be drowned by the raging river. Behold the wonders of the celestial dragon empire. The might of our warriors. The secrets of our alchemists. The sorcery of the dragon-blooded. Vanquish chaos with the sheer power of the dragon. Let them face the majesty of Grand Cathay.
As you can see, Creative Assembly yesterday released a brand new trailer looking at the siege gameplay that we're going to get with Cathay. It was called Enter the World of Grand Cathay, showing us a background of this ancient empire in harmony with the world around it, where every soldier knows their place in the grand designs of the celestial dragon empire. Yet chaos armies are gathering beyond the Great Bastion, and that Great Bastion is what we can see here. We have the floating islands of this beautifully designed city, so inspired by Chinese and Eastern culture, of course taking inspiration from things that we've seen in Three Kingdoms in the past, but moving it into the Warhammer universe. As mentioned in my previous videos on Grand Cathay, the faction hasn't actually been released as models from Games Workshop yet, and this is going to be their first foray into the mainstream, so they've got to get this right. And very much based on Chinese culture, we can see this being injected into the architecture that looks amazing. This looks like a fort or a city that is along the line of the Great Bastion, Cathay's version of an uber-sized Great Wall of China, built to stop invading forces that come over the mountains, or at least in this case the chaos. They are attacking and they are in full force. We can see in this trailer some cool units that we haven't been introduced to yet. For example, the Hellstorm rocket batteries, artillery that will be firing from the back and afar in order to pin down enemies or deal extra damage on those big clusters of troops. Also some Pegasus Knights riding into battle, doing that damage from above, and then also getting down into the fray themselves, but being vulnerable when down against spear type units. We also get a good look of Cathay's infantry, which, as I mentioned in one of my previous videos, will look absolutely beautiful. The detail and aesthetic that we're going for is very much inspired by ancient Chinese warriors. These guys look to be jade warriors. Not gonna lie, whilst they do look cool, are they trying to block their eyesight? I mean, I get the guard on their neck, but that kind of seems quite impractical to me. Overall though, Cathay is really based around its infantry, artillery and magic. The magicians and mages that we get to see in this trailer are vast. For example, using the protective spells against the oncoming strikes from above. We also get a look at some tornadoes and of course the dragon emperors changing into their dragon form. It looks like we're probably going to get a decent bit of changing from human to that animalistic form throughout your gameplay, depending on what you need them to do. And of course some other spells like deadly roots emerging from the ground. One of my favorite units that we get a look at are the Terracotta Warriors. My, do they look badass. It would be interesting to see, however, how they're going to be balanced by Creative Assembly within the game, as they come across as, well, massive giant hulking guys that are also quite speedy warriors. In the first trailer of Cathay we saw them jumping around doing spins, and in this one you see them spinning their glaives like goddamn Aquaman. So are they going to be slow and lumberous like the giants of the orcs, or are they going to be our first look at some massive troops that also have that speed and agility on their side? There seems to be a lot of focus, however, in this gameplay, and something that I think a lot of people have noticed from the comments of them actually fighting outside the castle walls. The defenders sallying forth and fighting on the plain battlefields. Perhaps this is to their advantage. You see, sieges have always had issues in the Total War games. The The AI has never been Total War's greatest asset, and especially AI in sieges. The way sieges have evolved over time has sort of diminished to the point where actually defending walls in the Total War Warhammer games isn't actually the best way to take on enemies. Moreover, letting your walls fall and defending choke points within the city itself. And it seems like Creative Assembly have figured this out and decided that instead maybe it might be a new direction to put defenders in front of the walls. The ability to have a bigger deployment zone in order to sally forth and try and counter that AI and siege clash that we've seen with the AI struggling in past Total War games. Yet the responses of the community seem fairly positive at this point. Everybody has been waiting for Total War Warhammer 3, and while so many people are still wondering when we're going to get a historical title, I think the hype is starting to build for this one. The finale in this trilogy, the Games Workshop and Creative Assembly combination that is bringing us some cool new factions, and specifically in here, Cathay. I suspect this might be some of the last things we hear about Cathay, and maybe we'll move on to some of the other factions to focus on what we're going to get there, but I definitely think Cathay is going to be their main sticking point. As we know, the human-like factions are the ones that they focus on. With the first Total War, we got loads of trailers for the Empire. With the second, we got loads of trailers for the Elves. And now with the third, we're getting the Cathay. One thing I'd be really interested to know is how they're going to balance these Dragon Warriors, because they do have the possibility to be completely overpowered on the battlefield, especially in the early games. We can see here that they're changing from their human form to their dragon form throughout battles, which means it will be an ability that they can do well. You'd expect pretty much any time, but surely when you're early on in the games, being able to change into this devastating dragon form could be completely overpowered. So it's going to be really interesting to see how Creative Assembly try and balance that. Whether it's something that is unlocked later on during the campaign as the relatives to the Dragon Emperor, or there are weaknesses that we haven't been told and shown about yet. But please let me know what you think down in the comments below. I know this was just a quick analysis of this latest trailer. I'm working on something a bit bigger for the full release of the game and some more information that we have coming up. But please leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it, leave a dislike if you didn't. But until then, I will see you in the next one.